Shalom, friends. Akib here from Israel in 5, and I want to invite you to take part in a very important campaign of Meir Panim to help rebuild Israel after this war. This war brought a lot of devastation to so many individuals and families. Families that lost loved ones, families that lost their homes, their stability, their financial support, their financial sources. And Meir Panim is taking a leading role in Israel today to make sure that those who were hit the hardest during this war have the support, the love, the food, the financial resources in order to move forward, go on and rebuild their lives. But Meir Panim can only do it with your help. You can go to Israel5.org/donate and make a donation. That could be a one-time donation. It could be a monthly donation. And know that all of your money will go to help support the multiple programs of Meir Panim that are helping to rebuild Israel after the war. Whether they're the markets that over 10,000 families every single week go to get fresh produce, fruits and vegetables to bring home, or the tons of people that visit their centers throughout the country to get a hot meal every single day. Or it's going to literally rebuild damaged or destroyed homes and bomb shelters throughout the country. Meir Panim sees the need and it is doing something about it, but they can only do it with your help, with your support. Right? If you want to help rebuild Israel after this very unique and challenging time, you can do so by going to Israel5.org/donate, or click on the link below and make a donation and help Meir Panim help Israel. Right? Help Israel directly through your donation to Meir Panim. And as a thank you, Meir Panim will send you a special medallion that on one side has a picture of the Western Wall and has a quote that says, "I helped fight poverty in Israel." Right? You will be one of those people on the front lines of helping Israel after the war, helping Israel to rebuild, helping Israelis get their lives back together, to rebuild their lives, to move forward with stability, with support, with honor, and with respect. Right? Again, your donation will go to fund and to help Meir Panim continue its multiple programs around the country to help those most in need during this very, very unique and challenging time. Again, you can go to Israel5.org/donate to make a donation and to make a difference. Thank you so much, my friends. All the best and be well. In this week's Torah portion, we learn a lot about twins and about wells. Let's explore both of them. Shalom, my friends. This is Akiva Gerst with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. In this week's Torah portion, we begin by learning about Isaac and Rebecca. They're married now and they want to have kids, and Rebecca's having a hard time having kids, so they pray. They both go into praying mode. It's an interesting scene that we are shown and that we read about, where in the same room, Rebecca goes into one corner, Isaac goes into another corner, and they just open up their hearts and they pray. Right? They go into deep prayer after years of trying to have a child, and finally, Rebecca gets pregnant. And there's a lot of movement in her belly, and she's not really sure what's going on. It sounds like or feels like there's like a war going on between, inside there, between two different forces. And that's exactly what it was. She went to a prophet who can tell her what's going on. And she was told that you have two nations, basically, inside of your womb. And we know that she was pregnant with twins. Those twins are born already in the womb. There was a struggle between the two of them. First one is born, that's Esau or Esau. The second one, that's Jacob or Jacob. And the two of them are very, very different, both physically and spiritually. Like physically, they come out looking completely different. Esau is all red, and he's very hairy, and Jacob is pretty much the opposite. And they grow up, and different personalities really start to develop between them. And then the Torah tells us something very interesting. Right? First of all, that Esau or Esau, he was like more like a man of the field, a hunter out there in the world, like running after animals to hunt them. And Jacob, he sat in the tents and he learned Torah, he learned spirituality, he learned wisdom. And then the Torah tells us that Isaac loved Esau and Rebecca loved Jacob. Now it's an interesting thing, right? Because obviously we know that Jacob is going to be the one who continues the heritage. the tradition of Abraham and his father Isaac. So why would Isaac love Esau more, right? What did he see or not see that Rebecca saw? And on the surface, it seems like he maybe got it wrong. He made a mistake. He didn't see the full story, the full truth. But there's a deeper way to look at it. Right? Yes, he saw the differences. He saw that Jacob was going to be the one to continue his ways, the way of monotheism, of bringing people closer to God. But he saw that Esau needed his help more. Right? So what was that love about? It wasn't favoritism. It wasn't saying that he didn't love Jacob as much, but he knew that Esau was more of a work in progress. It was more of a raw kind of product, so to speak, right? Not to call him a product, but you know what I mean, right? That he needed guidance, he needed help, he needed shaping, he needed help informing him into his best self. And that's why Isaac put more of his attention on him, right, in the form of love, right, to help him, right, with the spiritual wisdom that Isaac had and inherited from his father Abraham, to help Esau also achieve great things, not only physical, not only in the fields, not only as a hunter, but also spiritually as well in the spiritual realm. Right? So that's a little bit about Jacob and Esau, twins, right? In this week's Torah portion. We also learn about wells, right? We continue learning about Jacob, and there's this whole story about digging wells and fighting with the Philistines over whose well it is and who dug it and who it belongs to. It's a whole part of this week's Torah portion as well. But what I want to focus on is just the idea of digging wells, right? We see this as a theme, right? When we look at the patriarchs, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, right? We see that there's a lot of well digging happening specifically in the land of Israel. Right? What's that about? Well, on the simple level, there's not a lot of surface water, right? So you have to dig underneath the ground to get to the water, right? To hit the aquifers, to bring water from below to the surface. That makes sense. But like everything else in the Torah, there's a deeper spiritual meaning as well. Right? In the land of Israel, you really need to put in the work. You need to dig down deep. You need to break through the hard surface. Right? And that's a metaphor not only for the land of Israel, but for life as well. You have to put in the work. You have to break through that surface in order to discover, right? Literally the well springs of knowledge, of wisdom, of awareness, right? Of godly awareness. And so these physical acts of Jacob digging wells, right, in the land of Israel was a physical thing that he did, but also was a spiritual lesson. That if you want to accomplish in this life, if you want to accomplish in this world, if you really want to tap into what's down below, what is accessible, but just not apparent to the eye right away, you need to, as we say in the Hebrew, lashkia, you need to invest, you need to put effort into it, time and energy, right? And break through the surface, do the digging, keep going, don't give up, and eventually you will find, and eventually you will benefit, right? And that physical act is really a metaphor, sharing with us a spiritual teaching and how we can live our lives. Right? Those who do the work, those who pick up the shovel and start digging, they will find eventually. They will find. Right? And it's a great lesson for life. It's why we're here to work, to do that work, so that we can find and bring into our lives that spiritual connection and that spiritual wisdom. All the best, my friends, and Shabbat Shalom.